Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. And this is a very important broadcast, a very important webcast, and I'll tell you why. It's about money. And money is always important. Now, it has been a very difficult time to analyze markets. We have a major transition going on in the economy to where we've gone to free money, incredible debts being written by the banks and the fund boys, incredible amount of money rolling around out there, incredible amount of bad paper. All that's changed. The Fed is raising rates. They will raise rates another 0.25%. And that's important if you understand that, because Wall Street's betting against bet, hoping against hope, praying against prayer that the Feds will back down, be quiet, won't go crazy. Nothing further from the truth. So when the Fed raises rates a quarter point this September, that will be a shocker. Donald Trump has already weighed in and kind of got as far as any president has ever gone trying to threaten him. Reality is that the bad debts are mounting. The tax break bonanza for billionaires has been a major boondoggle. The national debt for the year deficit will be 1.33 to 1.5 trillion. And so much so the Treasury is going to have some of its biggest issuance ever. And they now announced a special a 2-month T-bill for huge amounts of money to try to take up the slack. Now, where my side of this comes in is, you know what you know, but now you've got to make the rubber meet the road. You have got to know what you know, but then you have got to turn it to money. And I'm sure a lot of people know a stock market crash is coming. A lot of people know there's a depression. But blessed few know how to trade it, and of the ones who do know how to trade it, blessed few will get out with making money, and that's kind of something I've been very lucky and fortunate to be very good at, but the risk is enormous. I like enormous risk. Now, I've been having to gauge Donald Trump. Now, you can forget all his deep state conspiracy bullshit and all that crap. I don't really give a shit. I don't care who he pinched, who he screwed, who he blew, who he tattooed. I don't really care. Deep state conspiracy, I just want to make money off this fool. Is the president an idiot? Oh, yes. Is he a brilliant idiot? And like many brilliant idiots, a genius in many ways? Yeah. He is probably the sharpest media man we've ever seen. The problem is that is just not enough. Because spin only takes you so far. Now, that'd be really good when you're producing a reality TV show. Spin's pretty good when you're selling off outrageously priced New York City condominiums. And spin works pretty good even on a beauty pageant. But despite all that, Donald Trump's business failures were colossal. And eventually, like most real estate guys, the projects get bigger and bigger and bigger until finally the last big one bites them in the ass. And they don't normally go with, oh, we really don't need any money. Yeah, right. Now, Trump's problems are colossal in the investigation. It's colossal in the problems of his own making, okay? Now, put aside a deep state conspiracy. Throw away the Mueller investigation. Forget the collusion shit. Let's analyze what Donald Trump's style is and what he's done. Well, remember early on when he wanted to have Mexico build the wall, and he had a conversation with the Mexican president. And in the conversation, he said, let's just go along. Just say you're going to pay for it. We'll work it out. The president said, I'm not having anything to do with it. Donald Trump's deal is say anything to the goddamn press you need to. Give him any kind of bullshit and forget it. So Kim on Nunchucks is a great example. Went down there, told him how the Rocket Man is going to destroy him and this and that. Had a summit, declared victory, and went home. He had the same thing with Juncker from the European Union. Went there, rubbed him on the leg, told me, look at this stuff. Yeah, we're gonna buy natural gas and soybeans, and problem go away. Now, that shit works for reality TV. That shit works for the blow and go, but it doesn't change what the problem is. So my analysis is the following. Okay, in fact, I've got two trades sitting on it. One is that Donald Trump wants at all costs to get elected. That he's very worried about the Mueller investigation. He's very worried about midterm elections, and has so stated. And he's going to become very active, and he's going to use the best tools at his disposal, and that's the art of bullshit. Now, the second part of this is that Donald Trump needs an economy that's perfect. We've seen the work of fiction that was the GDP report. Two factors were triggered into it. One was the inventory games they played on building because people were buying things ahead of the sanctions. And part two of that was the employment report with only 150,000 jobs created and people's pay not keeping up with their expenses, rising expenses. And remember, in the GDP report, a little game was that the savings rate doubled. Yep, people just had a whole lot of savings accounts that nobody knew about. Now, there's the third thing. Donald Trump now has got himself a problem with the energy prices, okay? The gasoline prices have soared. He has put pressure and received from OPEC an agreement to increase production. Russia's doing it. OPEC members are doing it because they're pissing at quantities. But the big kahuna, the Saudis, are producing the most oil and exporting ever, loading on boats, going down the river, bye-bye, adios, have a nice life. U.S. producers are producing the most ever. Most people do not understand that when it comes to producing oil and refined products like gasoline, kerosene, diesel fuel, and LPG gas, America is the biggest. Now, we are about to become the biggest when two more terminals open this fall and next year that are LNG loading facilities, and that will mean that America will now also be exporting the biggest amount of liquid natural gas in the world, replacing Qatar, and that's a game changer. So we have all these phenomenal moves. Now, for me, I have to understand the art of Trump because he's inserting himself in all matters. And my opinion is that he's got to go before Billy Bob and show that he's going to kick ass, and he's ready for the coal miners to make them great again, and he's ready for the assembly line workers and the people who drive trucks down the road, and they're going to be delivering made-in-America products all over the world. That is what they want to hear in Peoria, and that's what they want to hear in Illinois, and that's what they want to hear in Michigan and Indiana, and that's what Donald Trump's telling them. And that's his strategy. So if I understand that, then I understand, like with Juncker, even though the trade war is on again, off again, he'll flip-flab and bullshit himself any way around it to get it look like something's happening. Okay? Now that I understand that piece, I understand that without a doubt, Donald Trump will for sure, absolutely positively release oil from the strategic stockpile if he needs to get gasoline prices down for the election. He will even hold off and a little touch on the knee, look the other way with a wink and a pat on the back and a smile, and allow a situation where he has got sanctions, but no sanctions, but real sanctions, okay? Bottom line. Now, knowing that piece of the puzzle, then the next step to understand is that Donald Trump is going to have to choose between Wall Street and Peoria Street, Caterpillar land, factory workerville, blue-collar tailor shops. And in choosing that, Donald Trump needs to understand that he can't have it both ways. He's going to try. Now, the analysis is very careful is that we see a situation that provides another great opportunity. And that is that the stock market has finally figured out that the FANGs are dead meat and grossly overvalued. Wall Street has figured out that Donald Trump's trade wars and sanctions are a killer for business. And they figured out they've got all they're going to get. They got the big tax break bonanza for billionaires. Money's gone. Tax planning has changed their lives. They've gotten their bonuses. They have bought back shares of stock at record amounts. They've engineered the balance sheets to get another quarter of that, but it's over. And that means that we are due for one hell of a stock market correction. Now, I want to be very clear. You're going to love this. I see the stock market having its biggest wipeout ever. I see us entering a Great Depression unlike anything that's been experienced the last 100 years. And I see America devastated and then coming out a shadow of its former self. And I see in these incredible markets that are coming huge wipeouts in stock markets around the world, huge banking collapses. Now, since I've gone through all the trouble to scratch my ass and figure out that's going on, I want to trade it. I want to make money from it. Now, in order to do that, timing is critical. The right vehicles to use are even more critical. And a little bit of what I call a market finesse of knowing how to trade them. And a lot of times in my lifetime I've gotten very, very lucky with that, and I have every reason to believe I'll get lucky again, guess lucky. So that means that what has become apparent now that Donald Trump has done the things he's done the past few weeks, how he's massaged the trade, how he's done things with Kim Yum Nunchucks, and it's apparent to me that he will throw Wall Street on the bus. He will not care about the economy, but he will care about his factory buddies. To Donald Trump, his midterm survival depends upon that faction, and his re-election coming up after that also. So that means that is where he's concentrating his efforts, his power. That is where he's going to do his spin. That's where he's going to make the promises. A great example is the wall. Do you give a shit about the wall? I don't give a shit about the wall. Is immigration as big a crisis as he presents it to it? Of course not. America's been winking the other way as illegals have come across that wall for 50 years. And reality is it's been very profitable for American businesses, and it's worked out very well for Mexico, so everybody's happy. Donald Trump has made that an issue with the stupid money. The fact, by God, them goddamn foreigners taking my job. What in the hell am I going to do, boy? So now to explain to you you're obsolete, you see that MIG and TIG welding machine is automatic. Well, they don't need your ass anymore. You're done. You see that CNC machine, you're done. You see all those welding machines in a row in that factory chain on the car factory, you're done. See that painting machine? And pretty soon the machine will be putting the dashboard in the car and doing all the other jobs that are still left for you. Donald Trump can't tell them that. You can't tell them that automation, artificial intelligence, robotics are obsolete you. So, basically, it's very simple. It's really very simple. You've got a common boogeyman like all dictators have. You now play that boogeyman against it, and it's the illegal Mexican aliens. They're going to rape your white girls, and they're going to take your job and destroy your economy. Great. Great. Now, understanding that means that Donald Trump has to play that hand. See, that's the card he's chosen to play. Right, wrong, indifferent, whether it works or not, that's where he stands. Now, a guy like me, okay, that's I understand that. Now I want to see how he is going to play that. Well, he's put in the sanctions. He is absolutely positively pushing for this wall. And whether he does, well, we'll shut down the government. I'm not sure if it's before the elections or after, but we're going to shut down the government and get the wall. Means that he has got these key issues. It's immigration, and the wall is a big one. It's the trade sanction, which is huge. It is Kim Yum Nunchucks in North Korea. And it is our good friends, the Iranians. These are the boogeymans that this dictator wants to use to manipulate the minds of the no-minds to ensure his wins. You got to have me in here because I've got to stop that worst deal ever with Iran. You got to have me in here because I'm the only one that can control Kim Yum Nunchucks. Since I did the mind meld on him, not one rocket has flown in the air. Not one nuke has gone off. Now, with the wall, we've got to make the wall, make it tall, make it high. We're keeping these people out, and we're going to stop the crime wave, and we got to do it. Then the last thing is these trade sanctions, okay? He can't back away from them. He's trapped. He's got to have a trade war. He's got to be kicking everyone's butt. And his constituents have to see that because they understand in their feeble minds that it's all these foreigners that are taking their jobs and these goddamn foreigners bringing all these imports in to unfair advantage to my factory over their factory, okay? Look, simple people, you tell them a simple story, they buy it, okay? Complicated idea that, well, it's not that simple, folks. Reality is that, well, unfortunately, automation caught up with us. Slave labor is slave labor, and it's a lot cheaper. And that's what's making the difference. He's got to get elected. Now, the trade war is going like this. A lot of people are saying, well, listen, Donald Trump's got to start the trade war and do all this blow, and then after the election and he gets the midterms out of the way, he'll back off of it. No. Because remember, this man is compulsive. This man is possessed by demons. This man has sold his soul to the devil for this job. And part of that is he That's got to keep the trade pressure on. So our analysis is the following, okay? This oil is part of it, and the oil game has got to do a balancing act between seeming like he's kicking the ass out of those Iranians in the worst deal ever, and he's going to have to put sanctions against them. He's going to have to still have the oil come to market. And that's to avoid, by election time, $4 a gallon gasoline, and he's got to do it. So we believe that he'll fudge, he'll finch, he'll lynch, he'll winch, he'll pinch. But one way or another, oil prices are coming down. Iran is not going to bomb the Straits of Hormuz or blockade it. The last time they tried that, we flagged all of the boats under the Kuwait flag, the oil tankers, and we gave U.S. military escorts through the Straits. And the Iranians didn't do shit, didn't flinch, didn't piss, didn't make a rug. They did nothing but sit there shaking in their boots. The same thing will happen again if necessary. It's a no-brainer. Blast a boat in the Straits. That's a 3-day affair. We'll blow that into a bunch of sheet metal laying on the bottom of the engine flat plate, laying on the bottom of the ocean. The way it goes, and the Iranian bases on the islands there will be taken out. Period. And a statement, and Iran will be able to do nothing to stop it. Now, that means I love the oil trade, and I think oil is going to have its date with destiny. I think we're going to have $40 a barrel oil for this over with. And I hope we get a few more scares to drive it higher, but that looks weak to me. And now into the stock market. Stock market is the biggest bubble ever, and in a bubble stock market, everybody's brilliant. They're brilliant until the bubble breaks, and then they're broke. And we're on the verge of another major correction. And that means that in the upcoming days and week or two, I will position you for aggressive trade in anticipation of a stock market little mini wipeout coming in October, an oil crash then, and then we'll position yourself for the big kahuna, and that is $40 barrel oil that comes next year, maybe even $35, and then next year starts the long-awaited stock market wipeout. If you remember when you were with me in 2007, 8, 9, how we played that. So I have clarity in that I now understand what Donald Trump's going to do. And until I let the laboratory work the little chemical formulas of Donald Trump, you can scale up. So we're watching the little things he's doing with Juncker. We're looking at the little things with the Iranians. We're looking at how he handled Kim Jong nunchucks. And now we have a good feel for the bullshit that he's going to broadcast. We also understand something even more critical, and that is absolutely positively Donald Trump, the midterms are possessing him almost as much as a special prosecutor and the Manafort trial. So he is going to do something crazy and stupid. Will the prosecutor make it to the elections? I believe not, okay? I believe he's going to create a constitutional crisis, which will also be an economic and stock market event, and his people will love it. My fellow Americans, this ongoing witch hunt by the FBI is destroying our country. We are not able to do our function. He doesn't mention himself. It's the country. And America cannot put up with it, and you have begged me, my fellow Americans, to stop it. I've given them every chance. I've begged them to finish the investigation, and now I'm firing all their asses. Get the hell out of here. Now, among his crowd, polling shows that they're going to love it. So now his next problem is that he's got to get through the economic crisis and the election crisis. Now, my analysis there is that Donald Trump does not really understand the problem with the huge deficits he's created. Kudlow doesn't have the balls or the brains to tell him. And the reality is that tax revenues are not increasing because businesses put in more factories. They're not. And because they're selling more, they're not. Just the opposite. In fact, corporate taxes are decreasing still. We have a pulse on the numbers. Now, that means that the deficits are increasing at a time that interest rates are increasing, and that means that the U.S. national debt will increase, the cost of financing that debt will increase, and what you're going to have on the yield curve is the long side going down, the 10s, the 20s, and the 30s, and the short term, the 30, and now, thank God, the 60, 90-day, 1 year, 2 years, and 5s going higher. That now changed the whole investment landscape. It now pays to be in bonds and U.S. government debt. It is the safest way to handle your money. It is the only way your real estate funds will survive. And then there are incredible speculative trades opening up in the various markets, reflecting a complete change in America, a change in the debt structure, a change in corporate borrowing costs to the detriment of people who are deeply in debt and have got very marginal businesses, which are a whole lot of them. So now we know that we're going to end up with a stock market wipeout. We now know we're going to end up with a recession. We now know we're going to end up with ongoing trade wars because as the stock market crashes, as the economy slows down, Donald Trump's already sitting up to blame the Fed, blaming those goddamn foreigners again, blaming the trade war that you've got to bear with me, my fellow red-blood American truck drivers and factory workers. Unite behind the flag. You love the flag. You will stand up. You will kiss the flag because you love America, and you're not going to let them commie son of bitches and those Mexicans and all those football players that will kneel to stop us. So you have to unite with me against the threat of foreign trade, the threat of foreign manipulations, and we're going to have to stop we might even have to stop the Federal Reserve animals from raising rates and destroying our great work we've done in the economy. America's getting great again. You can see the factory jobs are increasing. People are going back to work, and that's the spin. So that presents phenomenal trading opportunities. It's all bullshit. It presents great ways to amass huge amounts of wealth, if I'm right. And the opportunities right now. So what you've got is Trump's presidency is coming unglued. Remember this, you got this investigation. Do not discount how worried he is. Do not discount the damage it's doing inside his organization. Do not discount the effects it's having on him. He who God is about to destroy makes crazy first. He's done his work with Donald Trump. Now the first part of the job's done, made crazy. Now destroy comes second, and Donald Trump will not make it to a second term. Donald Trump will implode and self-destruct. And with no deep state conspiracy, he just has to stand by and let this go on. Now that means that we're going to have an incredible stock market downturn. We're going to have an incredible recession. We're going to have an incredible debt collapse. We're going to have incredible financial institution failures. And we're going to have the FANG wipeout. And we're going to have incredible instruments that you and I have been working with for a while do extremely well. But the other side of this is that you have to be ever watchful, and also this is the time for enhanced trading. It's the time to make the markets work for you in a big way, and that only happens every once in a while. I've been waiting for this stock market plunge for 10 years, and I've been waiting all my lifetime for the coming Great Depression. And it is now here, and it is now time to take advantage of the greatest trading opportunities ever. You know, Donald Trump is a chump. No matter who was in office, this would happen. But now you've got a guy that has added to the rates going higher, added to the bad debts of all corporations, added to the bad debts in people's retirement accounts, adding to a stock market bubble. Donald Trump's added this. A freaking trade war. A mindless trade war that he can't win, that will make us go from the Trump depression, the Trump recession, to the Trump depression. And that he did. The recession was a foregone conclusion after 10 years of massive stimulus. That's how economies work in our system. And that was a reality. Okay, Fed had to raise rate. They've got to claw back the money that they put out. They just have got to do it. And they are, right or wrong, deep state, whatever that bullshit is. The side of this you have to understand is there's another one. And the other side of this is, oh my God, Donald Trump is getting into a stupid trade war that he doesn't understand. He is colluding with people who should be the enemies, like the Russians. He is not understanding how to handle trade negotiations. It's not negotiation, it's a mindless war. And this means that we are about to see a huge stock market wipeout, a Great Depression, and phenomenal trading opportunities. If you don't know what you do, let me show you.